So I've spent the better part of a week with this device, the ASUS Chromebook Flip C434, and a lot of you are really interested in it, and we've gotten a lot of emails about it and a lot of questions surrounding this device. And though I haven't formed all of my opinions for a full review, I do have a few thoughts I want to share with you before we get that full review video out. Today's video is brought to you by Forma Supply Company, and if you're anything like me, shopping is not high on the list of things you enjoy doing. Luckily, there's Forma Supply Company. They will provide a fresh set of t-shirts on your porch easily. All you gotta do is give them your frequency, whether it's monthly, bi-monthly, or quarterly, your size, and your color scheme, and they'll take care of the rest. If you'd like to learn more about this subscription service, go to chromeunbox.com/Forma, F-O-R-M-A. So with this device, there's a lot of stuff I like already, and there's a couple things that are causing me a bit of concern using it on a daily basis. And so I just want to talk really briefly about some of those things. Again, I'm forming some of my opinions about these things because certain things that bother me for a little while won't after a little bit, and other things that don't bother me will crop up after time goes by. So the build quality, I think, has to be discussed because this thing is just built really, really well. It feels great in the hand. It looks great on a table. When we're talking about those little slim bezels, they affect the entire device in general. And I say that because the smallness of the bezels, you look at that all the time. And so every time you kind of glance upon the device, it's attractive looking, but it also incorporates in the way that the hinge works and kind of slides underneath the keyboard and gives that slight lift. It's made the typing experience feel really good. It also makes the device lighter because it physically is smaller, and it's smaller in your bag as well, and it's easier to handle, and it just looks really good doing all of that. So ASUS has done a really, really good job of putting together a really solid package here. And so I've really just enjoyed the way the thing is put together in general and the way it looks. Speaking of those bezels, they surround a pretty good screen here, and this is becoming kind of commonplace on Chromebooks. These 1080p class screens, they're just good. It's a little bit warm, I have noticed that, but when I first got it out of the box, I was kind of put off because it was next to, I think it was a Pixelbook maybe, and it's a pretty cool screen, so it looked even more warm than normal. But as I've used it over the course of this last week, it's done pretty good. I can tell under extreme lighting environments with lots of sun, it's going to struggle just a little bit. I'm not really sure what kind of effect that's going to have on the battery long term. So far, it hasn't seemed to hurt it too bad, but I've had to have the brightness cranked up a little higher than I want. But overall, the screen has been pretty good, and I just love looking at it with those tiny bezels around the edges. And as my main device, this has been the only thing I've been typing on and using Trackpad with. Now, I use a mouse every once in a while when I'm at my desk, but I've been out and about a lot more than normal. So I've typed a lot on this, and I've used the trackpad on it a lot. And after the day 1, day 2 testing of it, I would have told you the trackpad would have been an issue. But I think I was just in a humid environment, and probably any trackpad would have struggled then. I haven't had any issues since then with it. It's not glass. It's either aluminum or some sort of plastic, but it seems to get along really well. Click mechanism's nice. The keyboard at first, again, I thought was probably a little more mushy than I wanted it to be, and it's kind of grown on me. I've typed quite a few articles on it so far, and really starting to enjoy it. And I had it with me in my living room last night, and the backlighting kicked on, and it was just a really nice, welcoming thing to have as I was sitting in a more dimly lit room. So overall input methods here, they're growing on me. And so after the first couple days, I would have said, I'm not sure. But I'm coming around on them. Lastly, I want to talk about performance and how this thing gets along. One of the issues I had when they first dropped this particular version of this device, and we don't have any other versions of it just yet. There's a version of it with 8 gigs of RAM that's available in the UK right now. But right now for us in the US, it's going to be the 8th gen Core M3, 4 gigs of RAM, 64 gigs of internal storage. That's not the best spec sheet in the world. Again, it's a $570 device, so we're not expecting, top end specs on everything, but 8 gigs of RAM would have been nice. And so a lot of people are a little worried that 4 gigs of RAM would not be enough. So far, I've not had any issues. Literally one time, and that was actually today, I had multiple tabs open, I had music players open, I had graphic editors open, I had all kinds of stuff going, and then I was condensing some photos that were literally 15 to 20 megs a piece. massive photos. That killed my RAM and it kicked me out of a couple tabs that I had open. But other than that one time, I've not had any issues with the RAM at all in this. The processor, the Core M3, benchmarks at around 30,000 on Octane, so it's scooting along just fine. And especially with a 1080p screen, I haven't run into any issues yet. Again, over time, I might see more of these RAM issues come up, and that'll be something for the review. But for right now, I'm enjoying the way that this thing performs. Port selection is really good on it as well. So we're getting a USB-C on both sides and then a USB-A. So that kind of dongle life isn't a concern either with this one. And so, yeah, I mean, just using it day in, day out has been really good. What I keep going back to is feeling like this would be a device that I'm going to put up against the HP Chromebook X360. So they share a ton of stuff in common. I think the X360 is a little faster and it has a little bit better specs, but this one has some better aesthetic parts to it. And so I'm thinking about all those things as I'm preparing this review, but just wanted to give you guys a quick heads up about kind of some of these initial impressions that are coming up after using this thing day in, day out for a week. Hopefully, within the next week and a half, something like that, we'll get around to getting a review out for you. But I want to spend plenty of time with this thing so that we kind of have all the bases covered, because this is an important device and it's one I know a lot of you guys have been looking forward to. But guys, that's it for this one. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button down below, and until next time, we'll see you.